Hello and welcome to coverage of Grand Prix Chicago. I'm Marshall Sutcliffe. I'm in the booth with Ben Second. We are underway in the quarterfinals here. Jared Boettcher, number 23 in the top 25 pro rankings versus Jadine Klomparens. Both of these players playing mono black, although you see actually one says mono black, one says black. There's a reason for that. Jared's actually got a little bit of red in his deck.
Yeah, he has like 3 different red cards in his main deck. He has some Dread Boars, he has a Mizia Mortars and a Rakdos Return as a red splash. Jadine has, it's mono black. She only has Swamps and Mutavolts as her lands.
Yeah, her deck's a little more streamlined, a little more simple. Maybe Jared has a little more power because of the red, you know, at the top end with that Rakdos' return.
Yeah, if he's able to draw the Rakdos return and get it off for a reasonable amount, it's going to be like significant in the matchup. But the Jadine is far from kind of helpless against it. She has a line sideboard that has cards like Duress and actually she even had.
All right, so she led things off with the Thoughtseize, took away Underworld Connections. That's pretty standard, although Jared Boettcher followed up with Pack Rat here, and Jadine hasn't answered it as of yet.
Yeah, that's kind of interesting. The only thing I would say that she could have Thoughtseized the Pack Rat, she saw it, so it seems to be pretty obvious that she has a Barb Light to deal with it. Otherwise, she probably would have killed it straight away.
Yeah, that's really the only answer there that she can have. Like, she can't let Jared untap, maybe hit an untapped land, and then have access to a second rat. Though he does have access to a second rat even after that one got bio-blighted.
Right.
And there it is. And she's going to use Hero's Downfall to take out the rat. So this is all pretty standard issue stuff for the mono black mirror. It is attrition-y.
Oh, very, very much so. It really comes down to who has the last card advantage engine standing at the end of like all the discard that comes.
Now, one of the other differences that you'll see in these mono black lists sometimes, and it is expressed here as well, is Jadine is playing Lifebane Zombies, where Jared is playing Night Veil Specters instead. So what favors what in the mirror?
In the mirror, the Night Veil Specters are stronger. I mean, like, one of the reasons why that Lifebane Zombie has become a little bit more popular is, one, the rise of Jund Monsters, which is really good against. Also, it actually happens to be a pretty effective clock versus the control decks and the mono blue decks, and so that's another reason why it's actually quite good.
All right, so Jadine plays her 4th land. And I think she just attacked with that Mutavault. Is that what we're seeing?
Yeah, I think so.
And that's it. Passes turn back. And Jared's missing land drops here. He draws, he says go. Looks like Jadine's pretty content to keep attacking here and maybe pressure Jared with his mana confluence, try to make that a little worse for him in any future draws along those lines. Here it is though, Underworld Connections for Jadine is going to keep things moving. She's going to activate her connections right away, drop her down to 17 life. Doesn't play a land this turn, and either does Jared Boettcher, so both players are stumbling a little bit. Jadine's the one with the connections here.
Yeah, I mean Jadine's going to like pull ahead here unless Jared can draw a land. Soon he's going to be in deep trouble. Really, Jared's land position really shows why, like, you know, this is the risk you take playing like 2 colors.
Yeah, exactly, because you take a look, and that Temple isn't casting anything in his hand right now.
Yeah.
It's basically colorless, and he peels the Swamp off the top, but his hand looks pretty nice here. He can play a Desecration Demon here.
Right. The reason why Jared happens to be playing Blue-Red Temple is he wanted another Scry land in his deck that produced red, and so what the Temple of Epiphany does is allow him to still have a red source that can be used to cast Night Veil Spectre.
Right. Unfortunately, it doesn't cast the black spells in his deck, and Hero's Downfall is going to take down the big Desecration Demon, and Jadine's going to get in there, drop Jared Boettcher down to 8, and that's going to do it. Jadine Klomparens takes game 1 in quick fashion. Nice smile there from Jadine as well. That's got to feel good.
Yeah, no, I mean, look, this is a really good game to steal. I mean, she was not on the play.
Thanks, Rashad. Jump into our Yuta Takahashi versus Oscar Jones match. To be fair to Rashad, he didn't have another option. But looks like that game just ended. We're going to get an update there to figure out who it is that won that game. We can take a look at our feature match area. Who did? Yuta won game 1 versus Oscar there. Now I can tell you that Oscar's playing for a lot here. Oscar's a young, up-and-coming Magic player. He's already got one top 8 this season. It was in Modern. He was playing Pod. Now he's playing sort of his signature deck, Mono Blue, and he's found himself in his second top 8. So he's looking to make a run for Silver, okay? He's going to get 4 points here for top 8ing, but he needs 6. If he gets to 6, that will qualify him for he will be qualified for 3 Pro Tours if he gets to 6. It'll get him for Portland, it'll get him for Honolulu, and whatever the next one is after that. If he does not get here today or on the next 2, if he doesn't meet that threshold, he only gets qualified for Honolulu.
Right.
So it's a big swing for this young man, and he's definitely looking. He basically said, he's like, look, I can win 1 match here, and then get a top 64 in DC or in Boston, or I can win 2 matches here and just not have to worry about it, or I can lose here and get a top 32 and get in. He's still got 1 GP slot of points to fill, so he's not dealing with that where he's got to bump out some points, but being down a game here in the top 8, obviously not the way that he wanted to start. Now, back on our main match here, players are sideboarding, and Jared stumbled for a few turns, and Jadine capitalized in a big way and is looking to advance to the semifinals past, really, you mentioned it a little while ago, Ben, Jared Boettcher, just one of the best rookie seasons we've seen.
Yeah, no, like absolutely stunning rookie season, not just at the Grand Prix level, at the Pro Tour level, he has 2 top 16s.
Including the 9th.
Right, including a 9th, and he was so close, like he had a couple win-ins that he missed just to miss the last one at Pro Tour journey into next. But a fantastic start, already locked for platinum, very, very close to an unassailable lead in the Rookie of the Year. This would just add it, if you could just win this or get very, very close, he could really just put it out of reach.
Yeah.
So we have out the sideboards, and obviously you would think that the black-red deck might actually have a few more cards to bring in. So Jared has 3 Duress, a Sire of Insanity. I think that he's going to bring in because actually it happens to be quite a good threat. If you're on the play, basically you can play it, empty your opponent's hand, and then you have the threat and they don't have anything. He has another Rakdos Return to add to the one in his main deck. He has 1 Erebos, and I think he may bring in something, the other Ultimate Price and Silence Believers. Both those cards deal with things like the demons from Jadine's deck. The thing with Jadine's deck is she has a much more streamlined sideboard. She has 4 Duress, so an extra Duress. She has Read the Bones, which kind of complements, basically acts as the Underworld connections 5 and 6, not exactly, but it gives them card advantage in that similar way. An extra Erebos, so she has 2 Erebos in sideboard, and a Dark Betrayal. Dark Betrayal, one of the most efficient ways to deal with Pack Rat, Night Veil Spectre, Desecration Demon, just 1 mana. Having that
instant speed, yeah.
It's actually probably one of the reasons why she can kind of match 1 for 1 against Jared, who has an extra color.
You only do 1 bridge, right?
Yeah, I should probably fix that at some point, but...
All right. Players are idly chatting with each other, but they seem like they're having a fun time, which you should if you're in the top 8, though. The nerves can get you a little, too. It's a lot on the line here.
I understand. The good thing for them is the big part of the nerves are gone. I mean, in some ways, you've gotten the slot, you've gotten the flight, you're already going to the Pro Tour. Now, I'm not saying that they don't want to win. They absolutely want to win.
Yeah, money's a thing.
Yeah, money is a thing.
I mean, maybe Jared could even get a new Pokemon hat if he.
I think this one has done him pretty well. I wouldn't get rid of it for anything.
I agree. Just make that part of his body.
So it looks like both players are going to 6. That's fair, at least.
It is fair. What does that do to the matchup? Not much.
I mean, not a lot. The only thing that I would say is that the way that Jadine has her sideboard configured with 2 Read the Bones extra, it helps her a little bit being low amounts of cards. She has a couple more hints of getting card advantage and covering it. As we were saying before, this is a slugfest of attrition. I mean, now they all have their full amounts of discard spells, and so you know, being able to 2-for-1 at a crucial stage is really, really important.
Looks like they're having some fun with the crowd. You can get a look at the crowd too. We've got a really nice stage set up here at the GP level where the viewer area is elevated above the tables. You can see all the legs you know, circling around, and people will jam up there to watch the top 8. It's a really cool viewing experience for people at home. Let's take a look back at our Yuta Takahashi versus Oscar Jones match, and once again, Yuta up a game here, and it looks like he's on his second Thoughtseize.
Right, the first one getting a 1-drop from his hand of the
getting the judges familiar there.
Mm-hmm. But the second one, it's like either you get a Thassa, a Bident, or a Cloudfin Raptor. It really kind of, I would tend to think Thassa would be the obvious choice here, but I think, you know, it does depend on the hand of what Yuta has. Oscar actually with a pretty good draw. Just, you know, he had all the curve.
All right, Biden gone.
But gets to play Thassa. Now Thassa, one of the harder cards for Yuta to get rid of. He might not actually even have a way of like easily getting rid of Thassa.
It could just be impossible. I mean, outside of, well, is there anything?
I don't think there's anything like. Funnily enough, Jared has a Silence of Believers that like could be in Yuta's sideboard. I don't know if Yuta actually has a Silence of Believers that would actually get rid of it.
That's interesting.
Okay, so I think both players are on six cards on our main feature match, and so Jared is opened with a Thoughtseize.
A Thoughtseize, and he's going to take away the obvious target, which of course is Underworld Connections. Sometimes, you know, based on what the player has, they'll take something that doesn't seem obvious, but that Underworld Connections is just such a key card here. Here's another Thoughtseize, and that is going to get a look at Ultimate Price, Hero's Downfall, and a Pack Rat. So, again, completely depends on what Jared Boettcher has in his hand here, what he's going to take. What did he take?
He took the Hero's Downfall.
Okay.
Which
maybe says he's got his own Pack Rat, or what are we looking at here?
I think he's likely to just have something, like a removal spell for the Pack Rat.
But no land drop here. So, Ultimate Price takes down the Pack Rat.
Oh, and then another Pack Rat. So if
wow, very nice.
If Jared does not have another removal spell,
and he can't find a land drop either.
This could be the end.
This could be very, very bad for our potential Rookie of the Year, Jared Boettcher. Jadine Klomparens is going to take over this game with Pack Rat if he doesn't find something right quick.
Jared's having some just terrible mana issues in this matchup.
Maybe a Bile Blight here.
Yeah, he really has one. He kind of has that. Oh, and it's
wow,
it's
and he's
over.
just going to scoop it up, and Jadine Klomparens is going to advance to the semifinals. So Jared's going to have to settle for yet another top 8 for the season, but Jadine still has her eyes on the trophy. So we'll keep an eye on that as we move forward, but let's go over to our secondary feature match here. Yuta Takahashi, already with a couple of GP top 8s this season, but they're not quite as visible. They were both one in Japan, one in Hong Kong, I believe.
Yeah.
Where, you know, we don't have as much coverage and stuff, so this might be the first time you've watched him play. He doesn't play quite as often as he used to, but this guy's an accomplished player.
He's actually got a second at a Pro Tour.
He does.
He came second actually at the Two-Headed Giant Pro Tour, losing to Chris Lockman and the coverage's own Jacob Van Lunen.
That's right. All right, here come the beats by Oscar Jones here. He's got a Tidebinder Mage, and he's got a Cloudfin Raptor. We're getting the life totals and stuff on the screen once our table judge gets those entered into the computer for you. Obviously, a super important piece of information when viewing a race like this.
Yeah.
But in comes the team here, and a Night Veil Spectre is going to kind of blunt the assault here from Oscar Jones. Takahashi could have made a rat if he wanted, but he decided that he wanted to have a Night Veil Spectre, which is just really going to put a damper on the attacks here from Oscar.
If Oscar can get another blue mana symbol into play, he can start attacking with the with his Thassa. I mean, it seems like he may actually be like have done quite a lot of damage. Okay, so
I'm sure that's a rapid hybridization there.
Right.
So that's going to make a 3/3, but it's going to be on the ground. Obviously, that is not a fairy.
Oh,
it does
so
not have flying.
He kept the card that was.
So
that
if
he
he's
scryed.
okay, well, if this is 4 mana, it's either Master Waves or Biden of Thassa, right?
Yeah, and I think if it's actually Biden, it's oh wow.
There's one other option,
yeah,
domestication.
Even better actually, because it allows them to attack with everything.
That's right, including Thassa.
Right, which is huge. Actually, it's probably one of the best draws he could have had at this point.
Yeah, that was 9 mana. That judge better get that life total up there quick, because I don't think there's going to be a life total here for long.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure there's almost no amount of life that Yuta could have been on that doesn't make the next attack like basically fatal.
Exactly.
Because he has enough mana to make 2 of his creatures unblockable. Most likely the Thassa and another creature.
If he doesn't want to take the risk, he can also just make the 3 power and a 2 power creature unblockable. That way, if something gets killed, he can still get in.
Really, what Yuta needs is he needs something to reduce the amount of pips in play. No, he doesn't look. He looks like he's at 2. So yeah, it's really too far behind.
Yeah, you were right, Ben. I mean, it made sense that after taking 9 damage that turn, and plus we had seen an attack for 4 before that he was going to be at very low life total. So let's go to game 3.
So like this is like obviously a very classic match in the classic matchup, like mono blue versus mono black. You got Takahashi has like Furika's Cure, Doomblade, and Drown in Sorrow to really kind of put a hurting onto Oscar's deck, as well as Lifebane Zombie. Lifebane Zombie being a pretty common sideboard card in against the mono blue decks because it provides a really fast clock.
Taking a look at the feature match area, though, we've moved a couple of players over so we can watch their match after Oscar and Takahashi are finished, but that's not them there.
Yeah. So this matchup you're actually seeing in the front table now is Steve Wise versus Steve Rubin.
Steve fight.
Oh, and actually, I'm just making sure that's actually no, it's not actually. It's Steve Rubin versus Tyler. Yes, that's right.
Is it Tyler Bloom?
Tyler Bloom versus Steve Rubin. So it's basically a mono black matchup. One of the things is Steve Rubin basically is splashing a little bit of green for Abrupt Decay as well as some other like Golgari charms in the sideboard.
Okay. So we'll be popping in on that one after this one's done, but let's keep an eye on Yuta Takahashi versus Oscar Jones here as we're getting a game 3. Mono black for Takahashi versus mono blue for Oscar Jones, kind of two of the most popular decks from the duration of this standard format. Again, Oscar has 2 GP top 8s this season, as does Yuta, excuse me.
As you said before, Oscar playing for a lot here.
A lot.
If he can get to the finals, he essentially it's a double PTQ win for him.
Yes, that's right, and that would qualify him for Portland, for Honolulu, and for the Pro Tour after that. If he doesn't, he's got work to do. He's not qualified for Portland, so he doesn't get those pro points currently. So he, out of the next 2 GPs, if he were to lose this match, has quite a lot of work to do. Now, he doesn't need much. He needs either, depending on where he finishes, he needs either a top 64 or top 32, but he needs a cash money finish at one of the last 2 GPs, and he is going to both. I asked him.
It's good to see a lot of the younger players like hungry to really kind of like make their name on the Pro Tour.
Oh, he's definitely that. Yeah, he kind of broke in when he had the Magic Online Championship. He played in that, and that was the first time that we kind of got a chance to see Oscar play. And he's been playing at a high level since. He's a young dude, though. I think he's 17, 18, like he's still in school, so.
Okay.
All right, looks like we're kind of like inceptioning here. So we're looking back at our main match, which is now Tyler Bloom and Stephen Rubin, but we're just looking at them while we resolve mulligans on our secondary match. We're going to be sticking on that one, though, to see who wins. And this looks like ye old mono black mirror here. Thought sees you, thought sees you. Take your pack,
Pack
rat.
rats.
Yeah. their graveyards are identical.
Yeah. But as we said before, Steve Rubin is the one with the green splash in his deck, so it gives him the Underworld Connections advantage, since he can use his abrupt decays to basically deal with it. Okay. Tyler Bloom just with a Temple of Malady, but the Temple does nothing in his deck. He doesn't actually have any green cards. So
yeah, who's having fun? The hot seas, the hot seas.
No one's going to cast any
duress.
spells this game.
No.
So, almost definitely going to take one of the connections here. The other option is Bob Light, and unless he really, really thinks he's going to press an advantage with
some
with
pack
a
rat
or something like that,
yeah.
I think he'll go for the slower card. Interesting to note, though, that Tyler does not actually have a third land, so it's possible that if he does have pack rat, he'll take the Bob Light and try and capitalize on the fact that he's low on land.
He did.
He did. So that really, really kind of is an indication of one or two things. Either he has a pack rat, or possibly even a lifebane zombie.
Yeah, it's kind of stinky for him though. He had to play a guild gate there.
All
right, so he was going to try to hammer home there with the. Well, that's actually interesting. The Desecration Demon doesn't care about Bioblight at all.
No, I guess he just wanted to improve the possibility of his draw here. I'm not sure exactly. As it turns out, he actually drew a pack rat, so he kind of he somehow foresaw his.
That was. Wow.
Wow. So and
I mean, he must have known somehow.
So Tyler didn't get another land,
No.
so this is going to be get out of hand. I mean, unless he draws a Bob Light in essentially 2 turns.
Instead, he draws 5-drop into 4-drop. He drew Grey Merchant into Erebos and can't do anything.
Yeah.
And here we go. The pack rat plan is in action now. Stephen Rubin is down a game here, so he'll be quite pleased to just pick up a. I mean, I'm not going to call it a free win or anything, but while his opponent's mana has only developed to 2, and he's got an active pack rat with his opponent holding no answer and no castable spell. Also, those Underworld Connections are virtually dead at this point.
Right. Yeah. He just doesn't really have time to deploy them.
Right.
Now, even if he draws a land, there's probably not that much he can do here.
He did draw a land.
Yeah, so he's kind of almost forced, he's priced into basically having to play the connections, and perhaps...
Oh, okay.
No, it's, yeah.
Nightveil Spectre's a card, but still, it's just not big enough to tussle with the rats here. And the rats will now be out of Bioblight range too once Stephen Rubin makes another copy of it.
Yeah, and they're hitting for 12 this turn. I mean, there's just not a lot of things.
And that's going to do it.
Yeah, the 12, I believe, is... no, you see...
The block scoop? You don't see that very often, but he went for it.
Maybe he was just trying to kind of, show that he knew that he could probably survive an extra turn.
Right.
Okay, so we're now back at the Oscar Jones, Yuya Takahashi match. I think there must have been some mulligans here, because it looks like one person is shuffling and the other is not. And it's been a while since they've been shuffling, so I think it might be Oscar is down to either 6 or 5 cards. Okay. Let's see how many cards that Oscar puts in front of him.
5.
5. Oh, this is not the greatest thing to have when you're.
He's shipping this one back.
He's shipping. He really had one land. He had some 4-drops. He just couldn't really keep that.
It's pretty brutal too.
Yeah.
I mean, the Mono Blue Devotion list is very clean in the sense that it has 1-drops, 2-drops, 3-drops, and 4-drops. It doesn't go above that, generally speaking. And I mean, it's a monocolor deck, so the mana's pretty easy. You'd think that this deck would mulligan really well, but if there just aren't lands, you can't do anything about it.
Right. And it's because it's very temporal oriented. It doesn't have that much time to actually find lands if it's short on lands. It can't really hang around that much. Its cards get much worse in the mid game.
Totally, drawing that fifth turn, you know, Cloudfin Raptor
Yeah.
is just, ugh.
No, it's just not a good place.
Let's take a look at our upcoming webcast schedule while we resolve these mulligans here. GP and GP Milan are both next weekend. Those are limited. We're going to be bringing you all of that. So if you have a little free time next weekend, get on that couch, and we're going to be with you most hours of the day. GP Boston is about a month later, and that leads up to the Pro Tour, August 1st through 3rd. All right, we're underway. Pack Rat on turn 2 for Yuta Takahashi.
Okay.
And a rather sad Cloudfin Raptor on turn 2 here from Oscar. And is this going to be just Pack Rat GG here?
I think it might be Pack Rat GG. The one thing I will say is that Oscar Jones does actually have a Spectre, so he's gonna like do his best impression of curving out if he can draw another land here.
Okay. In the meantime, what is that, like his lucky token or something?
Well, I mean, Yuya's like really well known for being a fairies player, so like I think he's using some of the tokens that from like when he was playing a lot of fairies in
I see.
in extended.
And Yuta is going to fire off a Thoughtseize here, and he's going to see a pretty stacked up hand. Unfortunately, none of those spells are currently castable. And in they come, make a rat.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, I think we're going to see this one end pretty quickly here for Oscar Jones. If he can find a land, if he goes land, you know, maybe he changed them to each other because the Master Waves can be really nice, but he couldn't find one there.
Yeah, I think this is the final nail. I mean, mulligan to 4 is bad enough, but like if your opponent has essentially like Pack Rat and perfectly curving out, like it's just too much. And so Oscar probably only has like maybe one more turn before he succumbs to the rat army.
Yeah. Takes about 100 damage there, and Oscar has to extend the hand. So
yeah.
Tough beats there for Oscar Jones, not able to get past the quarterfinals. He did add a nice chunk of pro points to his resume here for this season, but he's got a little bit of work to do in these next 2 GPs if he wants to pick up that silver status.
Yeah, I think he needs to get like probably a top 32 or maybe a top 16 to really kind of give himself the best chance at silver here.
Correct.
So we're back down to the Tyler Bloom Stephen Rubin match.
Yeah, we're back on our main table here, and we'll get those names switched over for you shortly here. But we've got a Pack Rat entering the red zone. What else is new?
Yeah, so
and
I mean,
that's an Underworld Connections not being discarded. It's actually being used, and there's Bile Blight to take out the rat.
So with the mono black against like triumphing over the mono blue, and the other 2 quarterfinals being mono black mirrors, so we're going to have at least 3 black based devotion decks. And the other one is it's definitely going to be a blue-white deck because
it is.
It's a blue-white mirror.
Correct. Now we saw a nice sequence there. There was an Underworld Connections that got blown up before it could even get used, so that's always nice. Now this one is not going to suffer that same fate, though.
Yeah, I mean, like at the very least, Tyler is going to be able to draw 1 card. If it looks like Steven does have a Golgari Charm in hand, so he can deal with the Underworld Connections.
He's also got a Thoughtseize. He's going to start off with Thoughtseize, take a look at another Underworld Connections, and he's going to take that away. So pretty nice draw there, though.
Yeah,
he had 3 Underworld Connections drawn.
Oh, he doesn't have a charm, though.
He does not have the charm. Okay.
So because I'm pretty sure he would cast it at that point. So.
All right, so let's see if the train can keep rolling here for Tyler.
All Tyler needs is like probably 3 to 4 turns of like Underworld connecting to really like make it hard for like Steven to come back. So
create some separation.
Yeah, it's really hard to come back after that point.
And there's
Oh,
Erebos as well.
too.
And that does mean that he's not going to activate that Underworld Connections this turn. So a little bit of tempo lost there, but he also, well, 2 Ereboses now on the battlefield.
The important part for the Erebos also in this matchup is that it stops actually the life gain in the match. So things like Grey Merchant basically aren't as effective as they normally are. So Tyler playing 1 life, drawing another card here. I think that Steve's a little behind the 8 ball, just because I think he missed a land drop last turn. Oh wow! So he actually drew a Spectre, which gave him Devotion, allowing him to attack with these huge Erebos.
Yeah, 5 power crashing into the red zone there. Those are the type of life total chunks that are pretty tough to get back and make.
Yeah, Tyler looks like he's kind of.
It looks like he's in the driver's seat here. I mean, is he going to hit with the Night Veil Spectre as well this turn? I mean.
Yeah, I think he will. There's a duress to see if the coast is clear.
Okay.
Steve casts
his Devour Flesh, and it looks like the Mutavault's going to take one for the
right.
team here for Tyler Bloom and hit the bin, but that leaves him still with active Erebos and still with the Night Veil Spectre that he can attack with.
Right, but
there's no targets for the duress there.
Yeah, just another Erebos and 2 more Grey Merchants.
Those merchants are pretty interesting, but this could just be over so quickly here.
Yeah, I mean, and I think that one of the big key things is that the merchants themselves don't gain life, and if they, because of the opposing Erebos,
absolutely.
So that's a huge deal. Make it really, really hard for them to come back.
Yeah, totally. Also, Erebos incredibly difficult to get rid of. Even in creature mode, it's most vulnerable, but even then, takes a few very specific circumstances or answers. And Tyler Bloom is going to bolster his late game here with a second Underworld Connections, and I think we're going to see a concession here.
So Tyler Bloom advances.
He does. So Tyler Bloom puts together the win here.
Yeah, and really in the face of, like, I would say a slightly bad matchup. Just I think when you think about the fact that Steve Rubin can actually like remove his opponent's connections. I mean, he didn't draw it, unfortunately. He ended up with a connections like landing and able to like really pull away.
All right, so we've got 1, 2, 3 now of our competitors advance to the semifinals, and to the shock of absolutely no one, the blue-white control mirror is still going.
Steven actually beat Adrian in the Swiss, so